Welcome back to Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode is a very important one, especially for you coaches, healers, creatives who are doing deep, meaningful work around anything that you feel is deeply rooted in your life purpose or just a sense of passion that you have to bring to the world. But maybe you feel like there is deep guilt, maybe some tension, or maybe some confusion around money. I am joined by the amazing Scarlett. She is also known as the Biz Hippie. So she helps coaches transform their relationship from money so that they don't have to own their worth, feel supported by their work, and actually enjoy the life that they're building. So she brings a very tangible money strategy with deep nervous system work and deep mindset. And her story is basically breaking free from that workaholic path that all of us, I think, can resonate with to create that true abundance is power. So, before we dive into some strategy and mindset, I'd love for you to start where you like that chapter in your life where that money felt maybe stressful still, maybe controlling, maybe heavy. And can you just share with us a little bit about ultimately what shifted your relationship within that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. And hello, everybody. My name's Scarlett, aka the Biz Hippie, and I am a money and abundance coach. And to answer your question about how did I get here based on my own relationship with money, the reason why I do what I do now is because for so long, money was the thing that really had control over my life. Growing up, I was the type A, high achiever, perfectionist type. I was the straight A student. I got good grades. I was like crushing life. And this bled into my young adulthood, where I was managing restaurants by the time I was 18. I was getting my bachelor's in business management, accounting, and finance, maintaining my 3.9 GPA, paying for college out of pocket, saving up money, had zero credit card debt, zero student loans. So on paper, I was really doing life right. People would look at me and be like, oh, yeah, that's Scarlett. She's got her stuff together. She knows what she's doing. She's being very responsible, especially with her money. But even though on paper it looked like things were going well, inside was a totally different story. I was empty. I was depressed. I was burnt out. I didn't know really who I was or what I wanted, and it felt like I was on this never-ending race trying to arrive at a finish line in the hopes that once I got there, then I could finally start living the life that I wanted to live. And really, I had created my whole entire life based on this chase of trying to be good enough, trying to be better, trying to have enough, and thinking that once I got there, then things would be different. Until one day I hit a pretty harsh rock bottom where I woke up and realized that life was already happening to me and that it was already passing me by. And that if I just kept going the way I had been, I would actually miss all of it. And that this finish line that I was chasing was never going to arrive, and that it was up to me to start living the life I wanted to live now. So, this is when I started to change my relationship with money. So, instead of money being the thing that held me back from living the life I wanted to live or pushed me to show up a certain way, choose certain things, live a certain life, instead, how can I use my money as a tool to create the kind of life that I wanted to live? And that's the journey that I have been on, and that's also what I help my clients do too.
Yeah. And I love that. And especially the one thing that stuck out when you said that is create. So can you kind of through your journey with money, what was like the relationship with money that you had through like what was that like subconscious pattern or that subconscious belief that when you were a workaholic in that career, like what did money represent like to you back then?
Yeah, this is a really great question. And I think for me, I really tied my money to my sense of self-worth and sense of enoughness. And I think that this is what a lot of people do. And it bleeds out to be bigger than just your relationship with money. It's just any form of external validation, like a job title or hitting a certain raise or, getting a certain number of whatever luxury items that you purchase, right? So it's just some sort of external validation, but we can really boil all of this down and lump it in with the relationship with money. And what's really interesting is your relationship with money is so much deeper than the amount of money that you have, because so many people looked at me and thought that I had a great relationship with money. It's true that I was really good with the strategic side of money and the more like tangible masculine side of money. But under the surface, all of the actions I was taking was coming from a place of scarcity, lack, and not enoughness. I was doing all these right things with my money, but from a place of fear and lack, which is very different than when you're in the mindset and belief system of enoughness, safety, security, abundance, and then you make aligned choices and strategic choices with your money from there. So a lot of my strategic actions are pretty similar if anything has changed slightly, but my internal relationship around money has drastically shifted. And something that I noticed from my own work and with my clients too is that your relationship with money ties deeply into your sense of self-worth. So when you do this healing around your money, not only are you changing your relationship with money, you're actually deeply transforming your relationship to yourself.
Yeah, and when you said self-worth and the connection too, because I've personally last year decided that, through my own deep evolution of money and my money story and like realizing they ran my entire life, business, whatever, for the last 5 years. I realized let me create a virtual retreat around this. And it was so powerful because so many people weren't speaking that. So I believe that I don't personally know you, but just a little bit that I have got to know you before we started recording, I just have this really deep sense of like you having really tangible money strategies for like if it's mindset work, if it's, nervous system work. So can you kind of like speak to some of those strategies that you have used yourself and you use with your clients as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that I teach my clients really comes from my own journey with money. And when it comes to doing this deep work around money, which one is, I think it's so important that we do this, especially as entrepreneurs, because your relationship with money bleeds into every area of life and it can hold you back and impact you from actually living the life you want to live, actually growing a successful business, actually being able to support yourself financially. So, really doing this work and starting it now is vital to creating the life you really want to live and making the impact that you want to make. So, as an entrepreneur myself, I've been on a huge money journey. And as I continue to grow in my business, it continues to unfold. So, the pieces that I practice and that I also teach my clients comes down to five foundational steps. And these five steps look at the internal side of money as well as the external, more tangible side of money. And we really need to address both of these. So those intangible steps include uncovering your scarcity seeds. What are your beliefs, your stories around money that you learned in childhood, growing up about yourself, the world, and money that are rooted in this sense of not enoughness? We all have these in some form because they're just so prevalent in our society. But the problem is we just accept them as true, and then those thoughts around money impact the rest of our lives and especially our businesses. So, first, we need to uncover those and bring awareness to them so we can start to rewrite the story that we have around money, which also leads to tapping into your abundant self. How do we shift these stories to be more rooted in your abundant identity, the version of you who isn't stressed about money? I also help my clients tap into the vision of what is your most abundant life. If money wasn't an issue and you truly allowed yourself to tap into the life that you want to live, what does that look like? And how can you step into that vision starting right now with the money that you already have? So that's a big part of the intangible work, is unwinding these current patterns and belief systems that keep you where you currently are, whatever that looks like for you, your current financial situation, business situation, life situation, and rewiring that to be in alignment with the more abundant version of you. And then the tangible side of that is learning to see your money clearly. What is actually going on? What's happening with your money? Can you get clear awareness around that tangible situation of your money? And then can you become the one in control of it by using your money as a strategic tool to actually create the life that you want to live? Because your money is a tool for manifestation and creation. You're manifesting your life right now with the current money that you have. It's just happening unconsciously on autopilot. But when we learn to see our money clearly, we can see the choices that you're making and therefore how you're creating this life. And then you can shift those things and align your money with the life you want to live and start to bring your vision into reality with the power of the money that you're spending.
Yeah, and I definitely resonate with that, which I'll call myself out here about that, which I know we talked a little bit before we started recording, but people look at me as like, oh, I have it figured out, right? Like you said earlier in this conversation, people looked at you like, oh, she has it all figured out. She has all the same thing here. But it's like now I'm like, oh, I'm going to start speaking actually where I am on my journey because did I have it all figured out? Did it look like I had everything figured out? Sure. But like up until a couple months ago, last year, somebody said, what's your system? Show me your system. And I was like, my system? And no, we don't look at that. And I was avoiding because it's like numbers. People wanted tangible numbers. Like my mentor wanted numbers. And what is the system? What is your client journey? What is your leads? All that. I didn't know any of that. It was just like, that I think from your point that you just said is so super important. Now, I'm not saying that you have to check analytics all the time. Don't make yourself crazy with that. But you need to know where your money is coming from. And if you asked me that question a couple of months ago, I would have told you I don't know. Like I wouldn't even
Yeah.
probably be able to ask that question because I felt shame around even asking, or feeling like that that doesn't matter, or it was surface level of like I'm not attracting clients, or I'm not having calls with people, or like it was something, but it was like somebody asked me a deeper question, well, what's your system? And then I was like, oh, they see me.
Yes, I love
They
that you
see
bring this
me.
up. I love that you bring this up
Yeah.
because so many people that I talk to have a lot of resistance or fear when it comes to tracking and managing and being strategic with your money. And I get it because especially when we live in a world where money stress is really common, we it feels like ignorance is bliss. If I just keep my head in the sand and pretend like nothing bad is happening, then I don't really have to face it and I can just keep living the way that I've been living. But what I have found is that most people's money stress actually comes from not having a clear and accurate picture of what is happening with your money
Right.
because your brain doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know the actual situation that you're in, and that leaves a lot of blanks to be filled in. And your brain creates a story and a narrative about what the situation looks like, the worst case scenario, all of the issues, how much money you actually have, and where it's going. And the truth is it's usually completely inaccurate. And that's
Right.
when we start to have a very emotional relationship with money, where our stories and our beliefs, which are not usually based in reality at all, are the thing that control our feelings around money and therefore also how we show up, especially in our businesses and in our lives. So when you learn how to see your money very, very clearly, not just how much is coming in and where it's coming in from, but where it's going out, how much is going out and where it is going for your business and your personal, then you can see very clearly what is actually going on and see how you are the one in control of it. So even if you
Right.
face it and it's not a great financial situation and you're actually in a very scary, intimidating place, at least now you know exactly what the situation is and you can do something about it. You can start planning, you can start problem solving from your exact location, which is very different from trying to figure out how to solve a problem you can't even see. So that actually eliminates a lot of money stress and creates a sense of empowerment because now you're the one in control of your money and therefore in control of your life.
Yeah. And I love that you just described everything that I've kind of taught myself or like with the help of other people, like my mentor of like having that moment of like I'm, journaling like or like just meditating or like what just like having that aha moment of me speaking it out loud. And then the universe matching that to like I have somebody that is going to help you with this and they're going to help you with that. It's a newer program for them, so they need your feedback. And it's kind of like in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, so we can help each other because like you're really good at systems and you can show me without overwhelm. Because in my mind, I kept telling myself and in my body of a previous system, previous situation of burnout. And in my mind, I was just reliving that same story that I was going to burn out. I have to do all this stuff. I can't ask for help. I have to. And then I was like, I just shut it off. And I was like, no, like, let me just focus on the one thing that I'm avoiding. And it's not magic. It's just simply because I allow, like you said, I allowed myself to see the actual real problem. And it wasn't what I kept telling myself. Like, so like that's a really tangible example that I'm going to use myself, because, and I speak that because I am going to be vulnerable and I am vulnerable with my clients and like just on the podcast too. Like, people tell me how they can get to know me. I'm like, go listen to my podcast.
Hmm.
Because I can't. I mean, maybe some people will, but until you kind of figure out, nobody could have told me that. Like I had to kind of really look at myself of like, what is going on? Now there was some help from like questions being asked of like, where's your system? I'm like, system. Uh-oh. Like I don't have a system. I thought I had a system, but I didn't have a system. Now I have a system and it's like I know exactly where the next lead is coming from, where this is coming from, like I know all of that because I created it, and I think that's
Hmm.
not what people teach you in the beginning. I think that's really powerful strategy work from lead generation. I think that is really powerful. It's not just about, you know, I think you need to know how to get paid. I think that that's really important. And I believe that in my perspective, and, I would love to hear your perspective on this, is like many coaches choose to believe that their, work is meaningful and they want to be financially stable. But like, what is the belief that is common there that like that you help most of your clients like dissolve it?
Yeah, this is a really great question because I find in my work mostly with like coaches and entrepreneurs, people
Yeah.
who do the work that they love from a place of service and from the heart, and because they care and they want to make an impact, there's often a huge conflict between doing this work that they're so passionate about and making money while doing it. And this is why your relationship with money is so vital, especially when you are running this kind of business, because if you have thoughts and beliefs around money being bad or evil, or you taking money from somebody, making you a bad person, that's going to make it very hard for you to sell clients. And that's the most common thing that I see is like, I shouldn't be charging this much. No one's going to pay me at this rate. Can I actually deliver at this rate? I don't want to hurt people. And me asking for this money is hurting people or harming them. And also, like, I love what I do. So therefore, I shouldn't be charging for it. I wish I could just do it for free, except I have to pay my bills. And
Right.
this is a huge money story and belief system that can really prevent you from creating solid, stable income. And the problem with that is if you are not able to support yourself financially, then you're also not able to do the work that you're meant to do in this lifetime. You're not able to have the impact you're supposed to have on this world. And so, something that I talk about often with my clients is your price point is not a disservice to your people. It's actually part of the value that you provide because you're giving somebody the opportunity to commit to themselves in a bigger way and invest in themselves and their lives and their future in a bigger way. And when you discount yourself or when you offer services for free, you're taking away that opportunity for them to make that commitment and that decision for themselves. So shifting your mindset and your perspective around money, that plays a huge role in you being able to actually serve more powerfully.
Yeah. And I love that you said that to that point, especially because all of us, I think all of us very heart-driven entrepreneurs would do this work for free if we didn't have to live in a 3D world. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
that's just, I think, what it is. But however, our reality is different. And I think that, speaking from that place too, of, I've done both way. I've charged, I done free stuff, and at the end of the day, I'm realizing that there's a lot of free things that I still do. And it's just very generous of me to do that. And also from a place of frequency, because that match of that client or that person or what, that's the frequency that you're holding. And it's like, I would love for you to speak about this too with nervous system. Can you speak around, people that want to make a certain amount, but maybe there's a scarcity pattern, or maybe there's, if wherever they are in their journey that comes up that they aren't able to hold that higher frequency. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, totally. This is big with my clients, and it really goes back to the foundational work that we touch on in my program, and that is how your current situation, your financial situation, your life situation, whatever's going on in your business or with your money, you are creating it in some way or another. It's resulted from what's going on inside your belief systems, your mindset, your stories, your internal narrative about yourself, the world, and money. And we think the common mistake that I see people making is thinking like, if I just work harder, work more, do more, then I will get more money and more money is going to solve this problem. But the thing is that you can make more and more money and it can go out just as fast as it came in. Or you can make more and more money and feel afraid of holding this much money and spend it very quickly or hoard it and save it and still feel the same, whatever it is, stress or anxiety or unworthiness or just still not good enough or like you haven't arrived. So the current situation isn't going away simply by working harder, hustling, burning out, and making more money. What we have to do is change the internal narrative. We have to change the pattern that is creating the way that you feel now and the current situation that you are already living in. And how we do that is by uncovering what are your foundational beliefs that you have about yourself, the world, and money? What is the story and the narrative that you have about yourself, the world, and money? And another technique I love to look at with my clients is how are the different parts within you protecting you and keeping you safe based on these beliefs and based on this story? So, for example, one thing, very common theme that I see is feeling in some way like money is evil or bad, or I'm not safe with money, or even if I have a lot of money, it's going to get taken away from me. It's not going to last. It's just going to slip through my fingers. Like some variation of those types of beliefs around money. And we pick this up in various ways. Maybe our parents fought about money, so we learned that money causes people to fight, especially when we have a lot of it. Maybe your parents like were well off for a period of time and then something happened and a lot of money was taken away and suddenly you were in poverty. Like this could show up in so many big or small instances. Maybe you couldn't afford the name brand shoes in middle school and you learned like you're not like the other kids, you're not worthy and deserving. But all of those stories, they add up. So when it comes to your business and selling yourself as a service, one is you have to have very strong sense of self-worth, believing that you are valuable and worthy and deserving of receiving that money. But then also, are you capable of holding that money, feeling safe with that money? And if you just keep pushing and trying to make more money, but you don't address these underlying patterns and circumstances, you're going to keep feeling the same way and fulfilling the same habit of spending it as fast as it comes in, or getting rid of it, or blocking the sales from coming in the first place because you don't believe you're capable of receiving it or you don't feel capable of holding it.
Yeah. And I think that that's really powerful too, because I have seen recently that people are talking about more nervous system related things. And I was like, if somebody would have just told me this 5 years ago about I need to figure out my nervous system. I
Hmm.
need to teach my body. I need my body, our bodies don't have logic. It needs to work together. And I don't think that, well, I should say like let me ask you this from a nervous system, how from your perspective, like how does the nervous system play into money stress or overspending or maybe under like earning or the way that you price yourself or maybe just financial avoidance?
Yeah, I think that it's really habitual. We're
Okay.
very comfortable and used to our current financial situations. Even if we're in a situation that we don't like or don't want. For example, if you're somebody who is always just getting by, you're like, I just always barely have enough. And I would love to get to a place where I just have more stability, more freedom, and more abundance. But it feels like no matter how hard I work or how much I make, I always feel the same and I always feel like it's just never enough no matter what. And so even though we logically and consciously want this sense of safety and freedom and enoughness, we're not used to living that way. So unconsciously, we're actually in our comfort zone of feeling like we just barely have enough, feeling like we're barely scraping by. Kind of that unsafety around money is actually what we're used to. So even though in some ways it's uncomfortable or scary, because it's within our comfort zone, it's our version of comfortable. So in order to step into your next level of abundance, you have to expand your comfort zone to be safe and to keep your nervous system regulated in this new reality, which is outside of the way that you've been living for your whole entire life. So that can take time to learn to expand your nervous system capacity to include the things that you actually want.
Yeah, and I love that can you speak a little bit more about capacity because I think that what I've heard a couple of my clients say, or just in general when I was having conversations with people about when they say, and I don't want to say that maybe it's an excuse or maybe that's what they tell themselves because it's not, but oh, my nervous system doesn't feel safe. But it's they want this, and then they, like when you say expand your capacity to hold, that's what you have to do. So what is something that maybe like what's one tangible tip that they could do to, in my perspective, it's more of like it's the lie that they tell themselves about not getting to the next level or like holding you can hold this but you can't hold this like it's that limiting belief like what is like one thing that besides working with you obviously they could do to kind of move themselves a little bit forward to be able to hold if it's a higher percentage every month of money. Like, what is one thing that they could do to move themselves forward so they're not, if they notice the pattern and they're not going to go backwards?
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of really powerful techniques that I use with my clients to really feel safer and kind of like break the comfort zone, honestly, because
Yeah,
this comfort zone is designed from a place of safety and protection. But again,
right.
that's often based off of an old story that no longer applies and an old narrative that no longer applies. So, one thing that you can do is notice what is the comfort zone, what is the story or the pattern that has been playing out over and over again, and where does that come from? Like, what was the first instance where you felt this way or you learned the thing? Like, where did you learn the underlying belief that is protecting you in this way? So, for example, if I have a lot of money, it's going to get taken away from me, or people won't like me anymore, right? Or it's going to cause arguments. If that's like first is uncovering what's the pattern, then uncovering the underlying belief, and then from there going back in time and saying, where did this belief come from? Where did I learn this? And maybe it is specifically money related, like you have childhood money-based memories, but maybe it's not money related. It's like self-worth related, or it showed up in some other way, and now it just bleeds into your relationship with money because your relationship with money is a reflection of your relationship to yourself. But then I would say the next piece that is really important is bringing awareness to your comfort zones because sometimes it feels like it's out of our control. It's just life. This is happening. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, I just need to keep pushing and working harder and breaking free from it. But I think really pausing and bringing awareness to how are you creating this over and over again? Because one of my favorite quotes is from the book Existential Kink, and that quote is having is evidence of wanting. If you are perpetually in a similar situation or life circumstance or certain amount of money or revenue in your business, then how can you tap into the part of you that likes it this way, that chooses for it to be this way, that feels safe for it to be this way? And even just uncovering that from the subconscious and making that conscious and starting to bring awareness to it, that's how you can start to rewire and break free from these old patterns.
And I have to say that I'm when I'm listening to you like to talk about this too, like current day, like when we're recording this, my daughter had got a book from, it was on her Christmas list and got a book from her poppy. And it's about, I don't know if you heard about it, but it's what would Dara no, what would Dar is it what did Darla choose? And it's the power of choice. And she has like the girl with the I used to read it all the time when I was a kid, but the girl with the pink hair, Dara. You know who I'm talking about or no? No?
No.
Okay. But it teaches any, like, she talks about the power of choice. So it's like there's eight little, kid stories. And it's about if Dara chooses this, and then you go to like the different stories. And I love that you just said choice because to be honest, I don't think that all of us, me included, that we forget that we have the power of choice. So like if our life is this way, why did we choose it or what can we choose to it be different? And it's like that simple. Like it's not magic. It's literally because we get to choose. And I think that society or conditioning or trauma or whatever, I feel like often, pushes us away of like, I didn't get to choose this. But to be honest, we all got to choose, So I think that's a really powerful reminder for what you just said too, of like the power of choice. We get to choose.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, like I love that how you summarize that because that's what it all comes down to
Right.
is you are always choosing. It's just often that our choices are unconscious and they're based off of things that just aren't in alignment with the life we really want to be living and the business we really want to be creating. And so this is the mindset work and the internal work that goes into getting in control of our choices. But then again, this mirrors the tangible work of being in control of our money. When you learn how to see your money very clearly, you
Yeah.
are seeing very clearly the choices that you're making every single day. Every single time you spend money on anything, that flow of money out, those are the decisions and the choices you're making. And those are the choices that create this life that you are living. I believe like money is 1/3 of your manifestation power. There's time, there's energy, and there's money. When you spend those things, you create this life you're living. But many of us are making unconscious, misaligned choices with our money based on things that just aren't in alignment with the life we want to live and the version of who we want to be. And so, again, when you get your money on paper and you can see it clearly, that becomes the mirror for this internal stuff that we've been talking about. It becomes the mirror for your comfort zone, your choices, and it becomes the roadmap for how you've manifested this life that you are living right now. And also, it becomes very clear exactly what you can shift and tweak and adjust with your money so that your money can be part of aligned choices that actually manifest the life that you want to live and helps you get to that next level that you desire.
Yeah. Now, do you see this like when you talked earlier about self-worth, like directly impacting somebody's ability to hold the money, like receive it and grow the money? Like, how
Oh,
do you
yeah.
see that?
Big time, big time. I think that that ties into the comfort zone. Like if you don't feel worthy or deserving, it feels very unsafe to one, either bring that money in the first place or two, hold it when it does come in. And this is especially important for entrepreneurship because when you're in a job, that is like somebody externally validating you that you're worthy and deserving. They say, this is how much you're going to get paid for. You did your job. Here you go. Here's your paycheck.
Right.
But when you're an entrepreneur and you're setting your own prices and you're also saying, and the service is me, like that requires you to be so solid and confident in your value and your worth. And if you don't have that, or if it's missing in some way, that's going to block you from being able to make sales in the first place, or it's going to cause you to throw out basically any money that you do bring in as a result because you don't feel that sense of worthiness and therefore that sense of safety to hold that money, receive that money, accept it, and honestly, like use that money very powerfully and being able to trust yourself with that money. If all of that is lacking, that will hold you back from creating the abundant business that you desire.
Right. Especially too, another thing too that I have realized through having conversations like with my accountant of like, okay, giving like I don't like spreadsheets, but he does, so that's fine. But like seeing where I have to like see it and he goes, okay, so how much are you paying yourself? And I'm like, to the point that you just said, I think us entrepreneurs forget to pay ourselves. And then we pay everything else. And then it's like there isn't enough to pay us. So I became in the habit of paying myself first. And then, if I don't have enough, asking myself, okay, so did I do something for free? Do I have need more leads? Do I need more clients? Like, do I need to shift something? And it's like you said, it's a mirror of like, what am I actually doing? And it's like holding myself accountable instead of, obviously, a mentor or other people too to like hold you accountable, but also holding yourself accountable. Because I think really for me, truly, like you said earlier about, money being one true, like, one third of, or like one piece of it, but it's much more. When people talk about abundance, it's always money. And I'm like, okay. Like you can see where their money story can start to play in. And I think that that is really powerful.
Yeah, and I love the way that you describe that too, it looking at it. And I think that learning to look at it and see it clearly and see the choices that you're making and and being able to feel safe in that, even if it's scary, even if you're not a spreadsheet person or a math person or it feels intimidating, if
Yeah.
you can feel safe looking at the reality of your numbers and uncovering any, gunk or emotions that come up in that process, that's a really powerful way to change your relationship with money and step into a sense of safety and enoughness. And again, abundance is not an amount of money. It's a way of being. And so, yes, it's about your relationship with money, but it bleeds into every area of your life. And if you have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy and safe and fulfilled and living the life you really want to live, then that's not true abundance. So it's about how can we live the life we want to live and how can we feel the freedom that we desire starting right now with the money that we have, and how can we make sure that our money is a tool that supports us in continuing to create and live that life.
Yeah. And to your point that you just said about, you can have all the money in the world, I got to have that experience of having a lot of money. Like when I worked for somebody else, like I, had that very work, 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 burnout, sit like, and I had a lot of money. And did I use it correctly? No. I just thought, oh, I need to make more money to have more things because it's a bougie lifestyle that I like to live, like, and then
Mhm.
it's like, to the fact of like looking at my mental health and looking at my mindset, and it was like garbage. And I'm like, now I'm not saying that I make six figures, but and I'm not saying that I made $1 million, but it's like now it doesn't, it's so balanced to like my life supports like what I'm doing, like service wise, that it actually is what fuels me. And like that's why I think getting to that point of like why are you doing this? Like, why did you start to work for yourself? Like that freedom piece that I make my own schedule. I don't need to go ask somebody, can I take off? I literally just take off on my schedule. Like that piece is very freeing. Now,
Mhm.
entrepreneurship can get a little scary sometimes of like, all of us listening, I'm sure know where it comes from. But it's like instilling that, like you said, instilling that belief to, keep yourself in that receiving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I believe that it's so possible. I love that you shared your personal example too, because it's such I think so many people struggle with this and think like once I have more, then I'll get to feel the sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Then I'll get to live the life I want to live. But it's not about the amount of money. It's about what kind of life are you creating today with the
Right.
money that you currently have? And when you can feel abundant starting right now with the money that you have, and when you can live your most abundant life, like the vision of what is most important to you, and if you can create that now with the money that you already have, that's what opens up the door for more to flow in and for that more to actually feel like more and to contribute to continuing to creating your abundant life.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? I'm sure you do talk all about this on your podcast. Tell us what the name is. I'll make sure that anybody listening or watching that the link is below so they can check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my own podcast. It's pretty new. I'm coming up on the year mark, which I'm very excited
Hi.
about. Thank you. Yes, it's called the Empowered and Abundant podcast. And I talk all about everything we talked about today, but in much greater detail. Of course, like your relationship with money is huge. So I love to talk about it from all approaches. I also talk a lot about entrepreneurship and money as well, too. So it's definitely a great show for the entrepreneurs, the coaches, the healers who want to support themselves financially while doing the work they love without money holding them back. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can easily get the link to that on my website, thebizhippie.com/podcast. Also, it's on all podcast streaming platforms as well when you look up the Empowered and Abundant podcast.
Yeah, I love that. So make sure you go check her out, go give her some love. That's what we're all about here. So, and listen to if you loved this conversation with her, make sure she goes, like she said, she goes in more detail for that. So, where can people find you? And let us know if if it's like like one thing that you like one golden nugget that you wanted the listeners or the watchers, because people watch on YouTube too wanted to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Yeah, what I really want you to take away is the fact that you can shift your relationship with money and you can start to feel a deeper sense of enoughness and abundance starting right now with the money that you have, no matter what your financial situation is. And it starts by doing this work of changing your relationship with money. So if you're looking for what's like the next step that I can take to start to shift my relationship with money, then I have that perfect next step for you. And that is a free quiz to discover your money mindset type so that you can know what your current relationship with money is and know exactly how to start working with your specific mindset type to shift deeper into abundance. So you can take my super short, super fun free quiz on my website, thebizhippie.com/quiz. And if you want to connect with me more, you can also check out my Instagram at thebizhippie. Feel free to shoot me a message and let me know what stood out to you from this episode because I would love to hear more.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm getting when we stop recording, I'm gonna go take that quiz. So make sure everybody that is listening or watching that you go take that quiz. And I feel like this conversation is such a powerful reminder to the point that abundance is not about hustling harder. It's about safety, the self-trust, and allowing ourselves to be supported. And I appreciate all of your wisdom, and thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us all these little golden nuggets to then now we can go binge your podcast because everybody listening, they all love listening to podcasts, so we can go check out your podcast. And anybody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening to this episode, make sure that you share this with them. And if this episode landed, I want you to go go check out all of her links below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, go check out her links below because she is a prime example of navigating money, and self-worth and visibility does not have to be alone. So make sure you go check her out. And if you're craving a deeper sense of community or support or in human design informed guidance around community, or if it's building a business, or if it's just actually honoring your own energy, I invite you inside my Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood, and all those links are also below in the description box, or if you're listening to this, below in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here with us, and I will see you next week.